Welcome to the Ozarks Business Spotlight Podcast. I'm Ryan Welch with Tax Break, and today we have Jason Deal of Insurance of the Group of the Ozarks, as usual.
Hey, everyone.
And also our spotlight. We have kind of a special treat today. We're actually doing a spotlight with Chad.page of Edward Jones.
Glad to be here.
And we have sort of a secondary sub-spotlight, as it were. My brother-in-law, who I've spoken about on the podcast a couple of times. In fact, he pointed out to me earlier today that I had spoken about him at least once in every episode that we've done. I didn't realize.
Ooh,
yeah, I guess I must like him. Yeah.
So special.
Yeah. Logan Tepe, he is a local high school teacher and the head of the FBLA program at Parkview High School.
Yes.
So
I guess.
Yeah.
spotlights.
Yeah, spotlights. We have a bright light over here on Chad, and then we have a dimmer, wider light maybe over here on Logan. So
The listeners couldn't see his face.
yeah.
I can share that spotlight with you, Logan.
Oh, okay. So, you guys, so we're going to mix the spotlights together into one spotlight, and they're going to stand there together, being spotlit.
Illuminating.
Yeah.
Illuminating the darkness.
Well, Chad, how are you feeling about doing your first podcast? I see you came prepared with your drinks and
I'm
gum.
excited.
Yeah.
Double energy drink.
And-
Wednesday night.
For the second week in a row, I see that there's you have notes. I don't know if those are for us or if they just happen to be that you brought that in.
I have a few notes, but yeah, I'm stacked and ready to go. I'll make it all the way through Friday with these two drinks.
I hope so.
We all met again, like we talked about every week, and we've continued to do this. We've mined this well for people coming in at our local mob chapter, the 38 Special, that is part of the Masterminds of Business. And Chad had joined our group a few months ago, and Logan was involved in that prior to having a scheduling conflict of being a teacher.
Sorry.
No reason to be sorry. But Chad, let's get right into a couple things. As I said, you were with Edward Jones, and how long have you been with him?
I've been with Edward Jones a little over two years. I started January of 2014.
And was this obviously changing jobs, going from one company to another? Was this a complete career change for you, or had you done this similar type of work before?
Good question. Similar type of work.
Thank you.
I'd actually worked in the financial services industry the previous 10 years, but I'd also been in middle management and did some recruiting efforts and training efforts.
Huh. What was it that brought you into Edward Jones?
I'd say a couple of different things. One, I'd actually looked at the financial advising career when I was 20 years old, believe it or not. So early in my choice of careers, I had a desire to go into that field. And chose a different pathway, but finally ended up at another company in 2004, and then kind of started my pathway working toward Edward Jones.
Huh, and it took you 10 years to get there.
Yeah, it did.
But you're happy you landed.
I am very happy I landed.
That's great. What is it that you enjoy about who you work for now?
As far as I'll answer this in two ways, I guess, is one, the company overall. I mean, if we're talking just about the company, I think the company it's a very, very well established company. I think it's ranked in the top Fortune 100 of best companies to work for a few different times in the last 5 years. So, it's got a very reputable, I guess, for the people that are in that workforce.
Sure.
But then really secondly, it's not so much as about just that company. I would say it's more about the individuals that I get to choose who to work with.
Your client base is what you're referencing?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a great career to, I would say you get to choose the type of individuals you want to work with. And I kind of sum it up, I guess, similar as if I like you and you like me, it's a good conversation to have.
Sure. Makes it an easy rapport, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I've met several financial advisors over the years, and it seems like the guys that I've met at Edward Jones, I've met through the mob and also just other places. There seems to be a standard that company has that I certainly won't bring anybody other companies up, but there's a standard that Edward Jones has, and that it seems like they were able to pick from a level of people that may be a step ahead of some of their competition. Is that the best way to say that without stepping on the other company's toes? Maybe. It's probably hard for you to answer that.
Nice putting them on the spot.
How about I mean, I was on the other side of, maybe a competitor situation. So, I mean, I did a lot of recruiting. So I know we kind of went through a vetting process per se. You had multiple steps, to where it'd be a 4 or 5 step process to go through the hiring. Edward Jones, as in my experience, the few places I've worked, is by far they really, really try to, vet through you and streamline it. So I think their selection process is maybe a little more stringent. If that maybe explains it, they're looking for a certain profile candidate.
Sure.
The fact that you had a difficult time answering that, I think, may be the kind of person that they're looking for. They're looking for someone who's going to be professional, and this is how you strike me. And after I've known you for a few months and had a couple of private conversations with you, but you strike me as professional, but also not someone that's going to come across as a real, not a salesman. Even though you're essentially in a sales job, but you don't come across that way. And again, that's very normal to the other people that I've met within that same company. So I think that may be maybe that's what I'm trying to bring up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably add this. I think they kind of do and this would be anyone that's looking for someone for this type of a career. I mean, we're all in the mob. It's all about relationship. I think that's very, very important. This career is no different. But if anything, being educated on the front end, kind of the expectations, knowing what the career really is about. I mean, this is not an easy career. I mean, it is a profession, between the license you have to get, the certifications you have to go through. I mean, and I think that kind of for lack of a better word, thins out the flock of individuals wanting to go into that career.
Sure.
Because it really is, I really view it as, it is a profession. I mean, it's all about relationship, but it's a pretty, how would I say it, important profession. I mean, you're dealing with people's lives.
Right.
I mean, in their careers or their finances, and maybe even their extended family finances. So there's a lot that kind of goes on that plate.
Speaking about that, what you talk about relationships and how that's built. What made you choose the mob? I guess it's kind of a little bit out of left field, but why the mob versus other marketing groups and things of that nature?
Yeah, great, good question. I think before I'd looked at some other network marketing places. Again, whether you're doing it on your own or you're joining an organization, it's still relationships. I mean, it's relationship building. Whether I'm meeting someone for the first time at their established business, just walking up and saying, hey, what do you guys do here? Or versus if I'm in a setting to where I really get to know you guys on more of a personal basis, or lack of a word. I mean, the relationship, the more you are intimate with the individual, the trust ladder moves way high. And I think the mob knows that, and there's no magic to that. That's normal how business is progressed, and that's normal how business is transacted. It's all based upon that relationship of trust. And I think there's a quote maybe, and I'm not going to use absolutely the quote, but when you breach trust, the relationship has a tendency to die or be extremely hindered. And in this business, especially the financial advising business, we're held to a higher ethical standard already, but even just on a personal basis, when you meet with clients one-on-one, that is so important that there is a sense or reality of trust there being built. So why did I join the mob? One, I think the belief systems match up. I mean, how you do business is with other people that you are family, and I use that word generically or generally, family. We're all connected in the business world, and we want to do business with people we like and people we trust.
We have a pretty close-knit group. We were talking about that in our smaller group. We have one of the smaller groups in the mob, but I feel like the core is really good and ready to be expanded. So, by the way, if you're listening to this, we'd love to have you come to our group on Wednesday morning at Patton Alley Pub at 8:30 every Wednesday morning.
Have a great breakfast.
Yeah,
oh, it's so good.
Surprisingly good for a pub that had not served breakfast previously.
I mean, just full disclosure, I didn't have high hopes. I was thinking we're going to a bar. It's on a Wednesday morning. Nobody probably, as far as the behind the register staff, nobody probably wants to be there that early. Cooks tend to be more of the evening type schedule. So yeah, they brought out breakfast that first time, and I took a bite, and I was floored. I could not believe how tasty it was. We actually talked about that this morning with Celine, didn't we?
We did, and I ordered what was it? Steak tri-tips this morning.
Tri-tips, yes.
Very good.
Wow.
2 bowls.
Yeah. Thank you.
2 bowls.
Kind of.
Hey, enough about me and my eating habits.
I feel bad about this. My son broke his arm this morning, but we were supposed to have a podcast with Celine, and I'm looking forward to, kind of talking to her about that, because it is, just obviously she's looking for a bunch of different ways to increase her business, and it just allows us to go and, be in there. And it's kind of brought me and my wife are planning on going Saturday evening to one of their comedy shows, and so it's working for them. I hope, hopefully they're making their money back on the breakfast, but it also maybe can get some extra clients coming in.
Well, absolutely. And just like, like you invited me and Melinda to come there, and it's like, we've been there one other time. And so it's like, yeah, even though it's not at our meeting, it's outside our meeting, but that's part of what we do in the mob, supporting each other's business.
I'm sorry, Melinda is
my spouse.
Your spouse. And how long have you been spoused?
My spouse. Legally or known?
Hold on.
I wasn't really expecting that. I have to think about that for a second.
I don't have any follow-up questions for this.
However you want to answer that, I guess.
Have we opened a can of worms here?
No, I've known Melinda since 1992. We've been married legally since 2013.
All right.
Okay.
Long-term relationship.
I think I know her.
Yeah. And you guys have, I don't think you have a yours, mine, and ours situation. Maybe it's a yours and a mine, and then you kind of all have grouped together. Is that
correct?
Right?
Yeah.
You have several children involved, is what I mean.
We have 5 kids between the two of us.
Yeah.
Again, hers, mine. Then we have 2 grandchildren. They're twins, a boy and a girl. And I would say they're ours.
Yeah.
And
okay.
There's no debate.
And then we have one on the way, due in December. Another little girl.
Grandchild, right?
A grandchild.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no other aliens in our household that I'm more of.
That you're aware of.
So other than that, no, we got a pretty good clan going. And they tend to multiply. So,
are you from around this area? I know you've been here for a long time.
Yeah. My parents moved to Springfield in 1973 from Kansas City area.
Okay.
And then I've kind of lived in this Springfield area my whole life, basically. Sure. There's been a short stint I lived outside there, but for the most part, I've always been in the Springfield area.
In a couple of weeks, we have Mary Howard from Powerline Health coming in to do one of the episodes. And apparently she got involved in her essential oils business, in part because of some long ago history with you. Yeah. And I know she listens to the podcast, so I'm sure she'd love, if you told that story. I don't know if there's much to tell or how you guys met. Yeah. Sure.
And this kind of even goes even to Mary, and even how I knew even Melinda.
Oh, okay.
A
double story.
Yeah. Had a network marketing organization called Enrich International. That was really my first experience with network marketing, and we started that in the, I'd say 94, 95 era, right through there. Made a significant amount of money, did a lot of, I guess, multi-level marketing, recruiting, and Mary was part of that group.
Okay.
And they did natural products, vitamins, herbs, so forth. And I think that really kind of opened up that window for her, and you can see how she's, prospered in her business and made it grow, and she's extremely knowledgeable. So, I encourage you, if you have questions in anything in the natural, homeopathic realm, she'd be a good one to ask.
I look forward to having her in here.
Absolutely.
Have some conversations with her about that. I'm sure we've have many mutual, people that we would end up knowing, because I've been around here my entire life too. I think Jason talked last week about being here for some time. Logan, you're from Joplin.
I'm from Joplin. Yeah. I've been here since 2005. So.
Okay. Yeah, you came to college here.
Yeah.
And that's not where you met my sister.
No.
But that's where you fell in love.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. Should I go into it now?
Sure.
Okay. I'd actually told one of my students that today. So, back in high school, I was a bit of a rocker. Oh. And apparently I had hair past the shoulders and dressed in not awkward, but just interesting clothing.
If you haven't met Logan before, this would absolutely shock anyone who meets him now and sees him now to consider him. I know at one point you had dreadlocks.
Yeah, for a week. That was a
short-lived.
Interesting, short-lived experiment.
Dreadlocks there's so much to dreadlocks though that you basically that lives on for many years after the fact.
There's photos, so I can't unlive that anymore. So
And you'll be happy to share those with our podcast listeners upon
if
request.
I can find them, yes.
Okay.
I will find them.
Okay.
Chad, dreadlocks? No?
Dreadlocks?
Yeah, dreadlocks.
Not
ever?
since last Friday.
Oh, okay.
wow.
Yeah, it's probably good.
Yeah.
Well, I did notice you had a picture of a fish on your Facebook profile photo, so I assume that means you've been in the area for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that means you're from Missouri.
Yeah.
It's badge of honor.
The fish pictures. And it's really funny to hear you tell the story a second ago about why the fish picture's on there. It's not out of choice. It was because your daughter sets up your Facebook page.
Yeah, thanks for pointing out my inept technological skills.
I just assumed you didn't like to do it. I didn't say you couldn't do it. There's a difference. You're the one who pointed that out.
Yeah, check out my Facebook after this podcast. The photo will probably be updated.
So we should be talking about it in the past tense because he's calling her as soon
What
as he gets
fish?
out of here. Right? What? Jason, what are you talking about?
Sorry.
No.
It wasn't a black and white, by the way, so I couldn't even get color on there.
Oh, that's funny.
Was it a Polaroid? Well.
What's a Polaroid?
Yeah.
That's the right answer. Well played.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
I thought I saw an 8-track player in the background too. Well, so you say you're having a grandson coming or grandchild. Is it? Do you know if it's grand?
I thought that's what they called a polar bear with hemorrhoids.
Oh,
What's that?
Polaroid.
oh,
Oh, polar.
wow!
Put that on your bison page.
Dun-dun-dun puns. And we've been talking with during the podcast. We have talked about the puns that have come up, and I have very publicly stated that I am not a fan of puns, even though my company posts them every morning, and they asked me about them. Taylor asked me about them, and Summer asked me about them too.
But you have no control over posting puns?
I thought they were funny. It was my idea to put them on there because I think people like them. I just find them to be ridiculous. But the culprit for that is Logan here.
that is I.
He finds and posts the puns, and then I repost them. I share them. I share the tax break posts.
So you're the pun master.
Yes. It's a enjoyable job, so I get to search the internets for anything that I find funny and appropriate, and then
Yeah.
share them with you lovely folks on the tax break page.
Unfortunately,
All
the
right.
polar bear pun may not have been.
I appreciate them. I like them. I enjoy them.
Thanks.
My wife loves puns. She just every morning I hear her phone go ding whenever I share them, and then she'll pick up her phone and just giggle about the puns, which is hilarious. Logan, do you have Taylor asked me about my favorite one, and I told him about the Mahatma Gandhi one.
Yeah.
Do you have one that you like or that sticks out in your head? I'm putting you coldly on the spot.
Yeah, I'm going to say that one trumps all the others. Other than that, I don't have another one off the top of my head. But that one was just perfect. Once I found that, I knew that was the one that needed to go on.
That one did get the most views. I always talk about that, and it's clever. It's so clever that it even I.
Chad might not know what you're talking about.
Do you not know that the pun? Okay, obviously Mahatma Gandhi. He would go on hunger strikes. Didn't eat a whole lot. He walked around barefoot, and he was, of course, a mystic. So the pun, and see if I can remember this one exactly. It was because of all those things. He was a super fragile, calloused mystic hexed with halitosis. So
I seen it.
yeah.
That
Okay, you
was
have
good.
seen it.
That
All
was
right.
good.
You
Yeah.
should, thanks for making me go through that. Then.
I didn't get the tagline until you got right to the end.
Yeah.
I was like, I seen that one.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really good.
Okay. Well, good job, Logan.
Yeah, I found it. I didn't make it, so. But I'll take full credit for it. So
Well,
there.
I mean,
I did it.
You
Well
brought it to
played.
the masses, where there's hundreds. of
You're
people.
curator
Yeah.
of
Yes.
good puns.
Curator of.
Very good puns.
So you said you have a grandchild coming. I was about to ask about that. Is it a son, granddaughter?
It's a daughter.
Granddaughter. And Logan, you are finding out what yours is soon, right?
Yes, the
Yep.
alien will have a gender come October 7th. Is
October
when we
7th.
find out. So
And do you know, I mean, when is it due? I couldn't remember this last
February, I think the
February.
20-ish
Near the end of February?
Yes.
So you and Chelsea, basically, if you don't want to have any more children, need to pretty much take separate vacations in June and July because Jack was born
Yeah, it's,
the beginning of March.
that's our time apparently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, February will be interesting because that's when FBLA gets into full swing with competitions and stuff, and Chelsea will be with child and
Children. Yeah.
child.
Because you have another one,
Yes, Jack,
Jack. He'll be 4 by that time, or roughly 4.
almost 4.
Is Jack excited about having a?
Yes, he wants a brother, but he still calls it by the female name that we have set. So he acts like it's going to be a girl, but he says he wants a brother. So I don't know. I just go with it.
He's a little confused. Well,
A
maybe
little.
this could, who knows? Your future child may have some, identity issues because of this.
Possibly.
Hopefully not.
Possibly.
But maybe. I mean, for their sake, hopefully.
But oh well.
Yeah. Oh well, if it happens.
Oh well.
Chad, so you knew that Logan was doing FBLA at his school, right? However, we just told you that.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any experience in any of the FBLA things with your kids? My kids aren't quite old enough to get into that late
Yeah.
age or level. So
Yeah, I had Madeline, my daughter. She was actually involved with the Future Business Leaders of
Mhm.
America, and actually went to the national conference in Atlanta, Georgia. this
Oh,
year.
nice. Yeah. Anaheim is this year. So
Is this year? Okay,
a lot of
yeah.
the students are excited.
Yeah.
We'll see if they make it.
Yeah, I mean, she really enjoyed it. I think it's extremely beneficial, for the exposures they get and some of the individuals they get to, rub shoulders with, ask
Yeah.
questions with. On top of that, being around a lot of other peers in that. So.
this is your first year doing it.
Yeah, I was involved with it in the high school level as a student, but this is my first time being exposed as an advisor or teacher. So,
We say FBLA. Perhaps people don't know exactly what that is.
as Chad said, it was Future Business Leaders of America. So
Care to expound as to what your goals are, what you do?
it's to teach them and give them skills to prepare them to be leaders in the business world in the future.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, it does.
So they named it aptly.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you're doing a great job changing young people's lives.
Oh, thanks. I do what I can.
Now, did they do that when you guys? Because I think Madeline, she traveled with like a group, like Kickapoo, Willard, Eric Marshfield. There was a group of schools when they would travel to events, they'd go together.
Yeah, we try. We have a district here, and we try to get as many of them involved. I went with Glendale. From Parkview, and I went with Glendale to a St. Louis Cardinals game. They had a career day, so we kind of traveled together as a big group, and we try to keep that up as much as we possibly can. So,
I was not involved in FBLA as a
Neither was I.
as a student. I guess I probably should have been. It would have been helpful to get. I think it's important for people to have at least some sort of experience or knowledge or understanding of what they plan on doing whenever they grow older. And any time that you can get kids to start thinking about what they're wanting to do with themselves and the goals that they want to set for themselves, I think that is, I think that's a great thing all the time. My students, my sons, are getting to that age, and one of them could really use some direction. Maybe you should, bring Liam to your FBLA, but he goes to a different high school, so it's not going to work out very well. So, I noticed on your Facebook a couple of things, and I go back and get a little bit of history. I knew full well, being that
Ryan's on my Facebook more than I am.
Apparently so. You should just give him control.
yes,
And take care of it for you.
I never looked at it before today, but one of the notes that I had here was to talk about your family and find out about your kids and things like that, grandkids coming and all of that. But I noticed that you've been a Royals fan for some time, so that finally paid off. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Been a Royals fan since 1973, obviously.
Oh, wow.
6. Had photos of all the greats, George Brett, Amos Otis, Al Cowens, and Joe Porter. I mean, anyone, John Mayberry, on my wall when I was a youngster. Of course, they had a pretty good run there. Nemesis, the Yankees in the late 70s. And, again, made it World Series in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
The Phillies lost. Then finally they beat some team that wears red in Missouri in '85.
Yeah.
Which is, my second favorite team. But
well, yeah, you're allowed in baseball. One of the only sports you're allowed to really have two teams because there's a national and an American league.
That's right.
So you
That's
can
right.
justify having an national.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I find, the solace in I'm in Cardinal country here.
Yes.
I think there is 3 Royals fans in the 150-mile radius here.
Well, after they won the World Series, a
Quite
few
a
more
bit
popped
more.
up.
Yeah, they did. 2 more.
Funny.
And so there's 5 now.
2 more.
But yeah, no, one thing that I used to share this with people didn't know this about me. I had season tickets for 12 years.
Oh, okay.
And so I was a very, very faithful True Blue. In fact, I'd go to the stadium. Sometimes there was only, me and a few others there. But no, I wear that as a true fan, a badge of honor. I don't say, I like baseball.
Sure.
I like the Royals, and whether they were winning or losing, I followed them and listened to them.
I grew up in a Cardinal family, so and my dad similarly would say that the Royals are probably his second favorite team.
Mm-hmm.
Although he's been irritated by not this ownership group, but the previous ownership group, who essentially just ran the team as a piggy bank. They didn't do anything to help them win. But now they've obviously changed that around. But back in those days, early 2000s, I went to a couple of Cardinals games at Kauffman Stadium, and the Cardinals fans far outnumbered the Royals fans in Kansas City.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
we sell our tickets to Cardinal fans, and pay for our season tickets for the next year.
Yeah, yeah. They were. I remember being there and thinking how crazy it was to be in a home team stadium and them to be outnumbered at least 60-40 by red hats. It's kind of crazy. I can't imagine that's true now. The fans have kind of come back.
I would say they have. It's still, if you've never, individual tracks baseball, Cardinals and Royals. Missouri fans by far in baseball are the best fans.
Sure.
If you go to a Cardinals game at Busch Stadium, or if you come to a Kansas City game at Kauffman Stadium, and whether they're Cardinal fans, Royal fans, listen, they're some of the best fans. You have some of the best times visiting with people, and you're both from native Missouri, but you're rooting for your team.
Sure.
And so,
unlike some of the other fan bases that are known, your Red Sox fans are known for being very rabid. A lot of Cubs fans are that way. I feel like I agree with you about the Missouri baseball teams. It seems to be that the fans are just as passionate as those people without tipping the hat into being rude.
yes.
They passionately love the Cardinals. They passionately, all 5 of you passionately love the Royals. but they are respectable.
Yes.
Even the Cardinals fans cannot stand Cubs. The Cubs team can't
Sure.
stand them. But you're not going to hear them. They're not like Philly throwing things at Santa Claus and other teams. They're not. That just doesn't happen in that
Sure.
same way. And that's why I would also say Cardinals baseball fans are just some of the best fans of any sports team anywhere.
And both are great organizations today.
Yeah.
They really are. They have respectable organizations. I know this isn't a MLB baseball talk show, but that is a don't negate that they check their competitive level at the door or at the gate, because even when the Royals were 66 and 100, they still, when they played the Cards, it was a game.
That was their World Series.
That was it.
So, and I don't follow baseball myself. Why the Royals over the Cardinals?
A good question. It probably stems from
His narcissism.
I don't like red.
Fair enough.
I said it.
No, my father moved our family to the Kansas City area in '68. He got a job at the Ford F-150 Ford Claycoma plant.
Okay.
And so I kind of just grew, no different than anyone else. I grew up
Sure, a Royals
there.
fan.
And, Kansas City Royals opened their new municipal stadium when the A's moved to Oakland. It was the Oakland Athletics. It was Kansas City Athletics before that. The Kansas City Royals, then with with Kauffman, the pharmaceutical tycoon, started the Royals, the Crown City.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, I guess it just grew up that way. And so I didn't know any different. How's that? I was a
Sure.
Royals fan in the beginning. And then when we moved to Springfield, I just never did let that go. It just stayed right with me. I had Royals paraphernalia, hats, shirts, and so.
You said something interesting a second ago, and one of you did, about it being not a sports podcast or a baseball podcast. And because if it was, this would be a really bad one because we're not all well versed enough to have a good conversation with it.
Oh, yeah.
But what I think that it is, and this is really why we like to do this. It's like an M&M in the mob, or just a conversation. I think that the best way to promote yourself or your business is to let people know who you are, so then they become more and more comfortable with you. And if that's something that is a part of your life, and that's something that is good for you. I mean, look, we talked about this last week. There's a lot of places you can buy insurance. There's a lot of places you can get your taxes and accounting done. There's a lot of financial advisors out there in the world. But what really, you said it yourself, relationships are the key. And relationships aren't built on numbers. They're not built on the cheapest prices oftentimes. They're built on knowing a person, finding out about your family, finding out that on August the 20th, 2012, you said that donuts make you happy, is also something that do they still make you happy, by the way?
Well, I think that's probably been updated now. I actually, and this is probably an inside joke of my family, I love donuts.
Yeah, well.
They apparently make you happy.
They do. And
they did, at least on August 20th, 2012. So.
And it seems like when I reached the age of about 47, I had to start running so I could keep eating donuts. So therefore, I run, I eat donuts. So
do you run to the donut shop?
You know what? My son asked me that about 3 weeks ago because someone reported they had someone there in sneakers and their running gear and was getting a donut there at Krispy Kreme. And he said, "Is that you, Dad?" I said, "No, it's not me, but I'll be there
this afternoon."
There's a couple things I'd like to still talk to you a little bit about business about.
You didn't ask me my favorite donut.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's a good point. Logan asked him.
This is serious business here.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this.
I'll back up.
So, what is your favorite donut?
Logan, I'm so glad you asked.
Mine too.
St. George's Donuts, he has a very, very, I would call it's almost organic type of donut. It's just a great fluffy donut. He dips it in this real kind of a milky, sugary sweet icing, and then he rolls it in toasted, like a real lightly bronzed toasted coconut. And man, it is just delightful.
You spoke as tenderly about that donut as I think anybody's ever spoken about me as a person in my life. I got to try this donut.
Yeah. I don't know if you're a Simpsons fan, but there's an episode of The Simpsons where the devil, trying to give Homer more something that he loves and ruining it for him, connects his mouth to a conveyor belt that was full of donuts, and it just seemed like an endless supply of donuts. And as you may
think Homer was quoted as saying more.
Yeah. They get to the end and the devil's scratching his head just looking at him, and Homer's just so happy that he's eaten all of the donuts in hell. So I don't know if you love donuts that much, but if you're running.
Hell yes.
If you're running to get donuts. Let me ask you this to kind of get back a little bit to a business side of it. As I said, I think the spotlight of who you are as a person is really important. But what do you think someone should look for when they want to find a financial advisor? What is something that is important? Obviously, the name chad.page probably would be the first thing they should look for, right? Or
find them at the donut shop.
Krispy Kreme has a buy a dozen, get a dozen free. I can't do that. So, if someone's looking for a financial advisor, whether it's me as an individual or a friendly competitor, I kind of look at this. It's more about really understanding the benefits of it and seeing the value in it. An individual has to see the value in needing the financial advice or the direction, because I don't look at my competitors as competitors. I really look at things that can destroy a financial plan, like, death, that can destroy a household's financial plan. And so that to me is the real competitor. I got to get there before my competitor gets there, which would be something tragedy happening. A form of disability, being disabled, not earning an income, that can destroy a person's financial plan. And again, I view that as a competitor. And so it's really about helping people. I mean, we're back to the relationship, helping people. And so when someone's really looking for a financial advisor, I'm a really big believer, I guess, Ryan, that most people don't look for a financial advisor. It's really the financial advisor's job to look and be a beacon of light in the community to help other people, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So it's a kind of a different business model, really. People really don't seek me out. I have to go seek them and say, here's these, the bright warning lights that could come up and could destroy a financial plan. So when I say I'm really in the business of changing people's lives forever, a good decision on a Thursday night might have helped some young person go to college 20 years later, those type of things. So,
well, you're obviously passionate about helping people. Why this career path as opposed to any other number of career paths that you could be in that position where you could help others?
Yeah, good question. And I think it kind of goes back to when I, kind of started this. I probably the profession that most people look at being, passionate on humanity is, the medical profession, because we're passionate on those that are sick and trying to heal the sick. And my profession is very similar to that, even though it may not be a physical disease. There is a financial disease that people either don't know they have, or if they do have it, they don't know how to be cured of it or get a solution. And so, again, my job is to bring those solutions to, really improve their situation or change their lives for the better, take out the risk, because it's a risk management piece that we really do.
Sure.
So Chad, I had a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Say I have a student or 5 or whatever that is interested in being a financial advisor in the future. What kind of advice would you have to get them started and set on a path to become a financial advisor like yourself?
Yeah, great question. I would, there's a lot of different material out there that kind of helps young people to kind of sort through and sift through this. I think there's number one, kind of look at any business. It doesn't matter what type of business you're in. You're looking at how can my business model fit and be successful, but at the same time, I'm successful. There's a short book called Do Well by Doing Good. And that book right there, Do Well by Doing Good, is a saying by Ben Franklin. But, you'll be handsomely compensated if you are ethical, trustworthy, and you help individuals. I mean, that's kind of the circle of life. The law of reciprocity comes around full circle when you do that. And there's a need for it. I mean, we have the largest baby boomer in my lifetime. These waves of people retiring or each year continue to grow. I mean, we're just on the first couple years of waves of the people in the first realms of baby boomers, and that's going to continue for the next 10 years at least. So there's going to be a huge shift of wealth from one individuals to maybe their children, and so there's a huge need for it. So that being said, to the young people, to your question, we need more and more good people that are passionate about helping others in this profession. So it's wide open. The sky's the limit. But for the individual that wants to have maybe control of their destiny, this is a great profession to do that, because you're rewarded accordingly to how many people you help. So control is a big thing if you like that in your career. Compensation, I think the financial advising field is probably, it's in the top 10, according to some of the different studies they make. So you can be very well compensated in this. So, I mean, those are some things that I would say that I would look at. And then contribution wise, giving back to society. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's nothing more noble than to give back to others. Yeah. And that can become in so many different ways. Whether you're doing it in a charitable way or you're helping people financially, being able to give back to others in the community. And it's a social thing. People that are more financially fit and fiscally fit, they're not a burden on society. And there's a need for that as well, from an education standpoint.
Definitely.
So you had referenced clients, you finding clients as opposed to clients finding you.
Mhm.
If you were to go seek a client out, what would be the perfect client for you, or just somebody that would? I know it's a very broad question. You do a lot. It's open doors for whomever might need the help. But what's kind of the ideal situation for you as far as the client that you're looking for?
Oh, sure. Great question. And I think this changes as you maybe become a little bit more seasoned in the business. When you first start out in the career, obviously, I'm trying to help everyone. And I would say that's still the case. I may refer you to someone now. I may not take you as a personal client. Realistically, depending on your business model, how many can you really manage and help? And that's kind of a work of art as you progress in this career. It might start out, you might be able to help 600 people your first year and they have $10,000 a piece. To where if you're managing people that have over $1 million in assets, you may only be able to help 200 people. So,
Sure.
That's really broad, and I'm really kind of making a statement of who do I help, who do I profile. I think that changes as you progress in the career. It obviously does. Doesn't mean one's more important than the other, because I believe the individual starting out, there is a great need, especially with the millennial generation coming up, to where we have more corporate. I know I came from the corporate world where benefit packages have been reduced or eliminated. And whether that's with a defined contribution plan or just a simple 401k, a lot of these benefits are starting to shrink. And so the individual is solely responsible for creating their own retirement future or seeking out insurance advice. And so there's a shift going on from a standpoint for this generation. I call my generation, I'm an X, but even the millennials, younger than us, they're going to be the first generation that they really are going to be what I call yo-yo. You're on your own.
Sure.
And so there's going to be a huge need for education. So someone's just starting out, we visited with the young man this morning there at the mob, and he said, what should I do? And I said, the most important thing is time. Let's start today.
Yeah.
If it's $50, let's get going with this.
Sure.
Because time is on your side, compounding. That's the best thing we have going for us. But then as I, profile going forward, I can give you kind of who I'm looking for. But again, I wouldn't say that I don't exclude anyone at this time.
Sure.
I think everyone needs to have a conversation, because I may talk to someone today that may only have $5,000, but then we're talking about that transfer of wealth. They never know where it's coming from or when it's coming.
Sure.
Or there may be a death in the family, and it might be the spouse, and then they've got $1 million life insurance contract, and so instantly they went from maybe $50,000 net worth to $1 million net worth.
Sure.
So you just never know.
Huh.
I think it's interesting. One of the things that we talked a lot about on this again is about the relationships, and sitting here and just having this conversation at the table. We've gone from baseball to talking about different aspects of financial advice, to the future of financial advising and the people that can come up through it. And I would recommend anyone who's listening to this to come talk to Chad. He's very personable and very easy to talk to. He was nervous that he wasn't going to make a very good podcast, but so far, I guess I'll let the listeners decide, but so far I feel like it's gone pretty well. Jason, you have any opinion?
I think if you're enjoying what you hear, you need to send Chad donuts.
Yes.
I'll buy the coffee.
Okay. Wow. You got a date.
It's a date.
One of the things we've done on all the podcasts so far is turn the mic over to you and maybe have you shine some spotlight over here. And I don't know if you have anything prepared, and if you don't, good, because I think it's funny to put people on the spot. But do you?
But he doesn't like to get it back.
Yeah.
So I certainly hope you have something prepared.
Oh yeah. Do you have any questions for Jason? You can even just ask Logan things. He's happy and to ready to talk. Yeah. Or me. Do you have anything that you'd like to ask about any of our businesses? Anything that you'd like to to bring up at all?
Or get to know you questions.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Share with me, each one of you individually, how each of our businesses could interrelate.
It's a good idea.
How do I answer that? It's hard to answer because we have a financial planner there. So it's hard to say that, Well, no, I can't answer that because Chad has clients that are going to him for financial planning and advice. However, those people also still need insurance options. And there's been a handful of clients of yours that you've referred over to our agency and let our agents kind of take the reins and help them with those decisions. And thank you for that. That's how these networking groups pay off and how we as kind of community business members all kind of pull together to help the community greater than just ourselves or the bottom line for the company. Yeah, I mean, my personal kind of just shooting from the hip answer here is I tend to judge people more than I should. It's a fallacy I have that I'm aware of, and you see somebody that's dressed up, that's wearing a tie, that's kind of just you get that impression just right off the bat, and it's not necessarily based on anything factual. It's just based off my judgments, I guess. And when I first met Chad, I was thinking, okay, that's the financial advisor guy, and then shortly, a week or two afterwards, he said one of the funniest things I've ever heard in a mob meeting, and still to this day, it cracks me up when I think about it. And I'm going to say it for the listeners, because you got this look on your face. You know what I'm going to say.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, we meet at 8:30 in the morning, so, at 8:25, people are kind of rolling in and ordering coffee, and we haven't really gotten very far yet, and Chad comes beaming in the door and is smiling from ear to ear, and the waitress comes up and asks what he'd like for food for breakfast that morning, and he says, you know what? I'm in the mood for fruit. Bring me a piece of cherry pie. It was perfect. It was unprompted and perfect. So, and we all heartily laughed, and that smashed my preconceived judgments of Chad as just being a very down-to-earth, funny, normal person, and not just some stiff in a suit kind of judgment.
So underneath the shiny veneer, he has some wit.
There's some glazed donuts in there somewhere.
Yeah,
and some pie.
Yeah, well, definitely some pie at this point.
A lot of glazed donuts. Huh?
Our group does that. We laugh a lot. We joke a lot. Sometimes, people will come in and it's unintentional humor. Other times, it's things like Chad, who is very intentionally being funny. And that's one of my favorite parts about our group. So if you guys like to laugh, come, and we're not even drunk, even though it's a bar.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll share this, even from the standpoint with, Ryan, the gooder comment, and Jason promoting the gooder comment is just like, that ranks up there in one of my all-time favorites.
We've kind of beaten that into the ground, haven't we?
Oh, we have.
Well, Shanae Harvey, who will be on the podcast in a few weeks too,
and is very passionate about what she does, by the way, and very good. So.
And she's
looking
great.
forward to that one.
A couple of jobs. I mean, she does the unique with the mob, and then she's a midwife or a midwife in training. And those are very interesting things. And I think we talked about this. I don't remember if we actually spoke about it on the podcast before or if we told Melissa about it, but hilarious night. She was just out with us whenever we were doing one of our social get-togethers, and she happened to utter the word gooder versus better, or tonight was good, or this was a gooder night, and under a lot of circumstances, that's a one-time laugh about thing, but I was there. And I don't tend to let anything go, especially like that. And Shanae is super fun to pick on, so I bring it up every meeting that I can. I guess she wasn't there today, so it probably didn't happen today.
I counted no proper use of the word gooder at our meeting this morning, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We're slipping.
There was noneer.
None are gooders today.
Oh, that's funny. And I also make her go first all the time, no matter what. And if someone's standing is there to fill in for her, I also make them go first, just because it's just because I can't let it go.
Just trying to keep it consistent.
Yes, I can't let it go. I never know when to quit. To answer your question about obviously taxes and accounting, very clearly, financial advice has tax implications, and
absolutely,
oftentimes someone putting money into an IRA or a retirement account or can help lower their tax implications. The types of accounts that you choose to invest your money in have whether you're getting dividends from it or whether you're seeing increases in your portfolio and all the trades. There's so many tax implications that these two businesses are virtually hand in hand. They're very, in fact, and we've actually referred people over to Insurance Group of the Ozarks too, from clients too, but it's a little bit more of a sister organization, or sister cooperation versus with financial planning. If you're not considering your tax implications on things, then you're just simply not, then you're not really doing it right. Yeah. So I'm sure that's a big part of what you guys talk about.
Very true.
Logan, do you have any other?
Actually, I do.
Yeah, go ahead. Cool.
So basically, with what I do, I teach business classes accounting is one. Business principles, which is just kind of a general knowledge for some of the younger grades, like freshman, sophomore grades. And so one way that you guys could benefit, or at least I could benefit, and then you could also possibly benefit in the future, is either coming in to speak with my students. My door is always open. So if you guys are ever interested in influencing young minds, then just let me know. Also, I teach a computer science class, and we finally got all of our equipment today. We got tablets, and I was super... It's like Christmas today, so that was awesome. But those students are going to be, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, starting to do a project where I'm going to have business people that may need for a mobile app come in, and they will have a couple weeks to try and make that app for you and then possibly present it to you. So if anyone is interested in either of those two opportunities, by all means, get a hold of me.
Are you just speaking to the people here at the table? Or?
No, any listeners that are in the
this is going worldwide.
Yes.
So
in the internets.
yes.
So
I will say, and to help Logan with that, obviously we're going to put this up. We're going to bring those things up, and in a second we're going to get his contact information, and we'll get Chad's contact information.
And I mean, I'll partner around that. The future is inside those schools. I mean, by the way, I mean, you know, anyone that's a teacher will share that with you. Yeah. You know, tomorrow is inside those walls. And so, speaking to them, or whether you say encouraging them to seek other career opportunities, by all means, I'm a big believer in, educating them to, explore those options.
Definitely.
What we talk about on these podcasts is, again, talking about the people that come on, getting to know Chad better, getting to know Melissa Biddle better, and Summer Ward and Taylor Sanders, and finding out a little bit more about their business. And if you're listening to this and you're a member of the mob, you understand that it's not always about you using their services, but it's oftentimes about you referring people that you know could use their services. So liking this, sharing this podcast, it obviously helps us out. We're not making any money. There's no financial benefit to this. It's just something that we've enjoyed doing so much. And I'm in my business. We're so interested in other people's businesses. That's really what got me. Summer asked that question a while back about what got me involved in what we are doing here. And I'm just naturally curious. I always like to find out more about the people behind the sign, and the people that really are hanging out behind the shingle, as it were.
Well, and especially with some of the job professions represented here, let's just take financial planning for an example. I mean, I'm not going to refer somebody I trust and love to a financial planner that I know nothing about. However, Chad, who I know is an honest person, is an intelligent person, has been in the business a long time, loves cherry pie.
And also is a Royals fan.
That's somebody that I'd feel more comfortable passing that referral on to, especially if the things they're going to be talking about are very personal things that could affect their future.
So if you listen to this and you find that you like Chad, maybe you just share this with someone who may be looking for a financial advisor. Maybe Chad is someone that's someone that they would be interested in talking to, and that's really the big factor here. So let's, Chad, what is the best way for somebody to get a hold of you in order to talk to you about your business? Obviously, you talked about them seeking them out, but maybe just perchance they want to seek you out. How can they contact
Help
you?
me help you.
Yeah.
They can go to my Facebook page. I don't know how to get there, but they can go there.
If you're into fish pictures, then you
I mean, they can contact me, obviously through the mob. I mean, we have our contact information there, which is beneficial by far. I've found several contacts on the mob website. If they don't, I mean, you can look me up underneath, Edward Jones. By far, you can actually go to the website. I have a website there. You can Google chad.page, Edward Jones. It'll pop up. You can contact me via email, chad.page at edwardjones.com. That's always a good way to communicate. I can always respond that way.
And you're okay with us providing that information on this podcast post, like below the recording, showing how to reach out to you if they want to? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Would you like to provide a phone number, or is that typically not the best way to get a hold of you?
No, you can call me, 417-581-0866. That's an office number. We're there, Monday through Friday.
Sure. Okay. And for anyone who would like to get in touch with Logan,
Yes.
what would be the best ways to get in touch with you, Logan?
Well, people want to because they want to fill that speaking gig for him.
Definitely.
So
Absolutely.
Or field trips if he wants to come to you. That's also an
hey.
opportunity.
Hey.
Hey,
Absolutely.
That's
so,
really cool.
So how would they do that?
That would be my email address with the school is L for Logan, ltepe, TEPE, at spsmail.org. Sorry. And then my phone number, 417-396-0742.
Well,
All right.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to bring up? I mean, hey, have you ever tried a fish donut? That could be like a nice...
Sounds like a Missouri thing.
That does.
You know, I have not.
Hertz may have one with like Swedish fish on it.
That could be the
Maybe
case.
not. Maybe I'm dreaming. I don't know. They will now.
A sweet dream it is.
Yes.
Jason, do you have anything else you'd like to bring
No,
up?
well, I don't. Chad?
I would say this. I think everyone at this table, each of us, we really want to live a life of significance. It's all about influencing people or encouraging people or, changing people's lives for the better. And, I had a great time. This was very educational for me. I hope it was for you and for all the listeners as well.
Something you brought up at the beginning was that I don't know if it was when we were recording or before you were recording, saying that you wanted to get through this one and then maybe you come back for another one if this one didn't go bad. I don't think this has gone poorly at all.
It's been great.
But we would love to have you back, whether you come
thank
back
you.
and kind of sit in the Logan role, that he's been here tonight as kind of the sidekick and have some things that he might be able to say, and also get a little bit of the extra spotlight pushed over to him.
It's fun.
It's fun. Yeah. Or if you just want, in the future, whenever we get through our list of folks that we've got going, have you on again. I'd love to have you again, Chad. You're always fun to talk to.
Well, I appreciate that, Ryan and Logan and Jason. And I'd be honored. I was honored to be asked, and so I'd be honored to come back and, sitting in the side chair.
Well, thank you for joining and letting us get to know you a little better.
Well, it was my pleasure, and I enjoyed it.
Well, let's. I think we should all shake hands here before we leave. Logan, it was nice to have you on here. Jason,
We're actually shaking hands.
yeah, it's actually
Yes.
happening. Theater of the mind.
All right.
Oh, we made it through with no one forgetting. This is what I was bringing up in the beginning to Chad too. I wanted someone to bring up the
The air quotes.
air quotes.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny because everyone always
Was
does.
that Summer?
Summer and Melissa.
Melissa.
I think even Taylor may have had a moment
Yeah.
where he did air quotes, but I'm like, look, you got to say air quotes. You can't just sign air quotes on the table.
Yeah.
Chad was in the middle of something profound, and so I didn't want to interrupt him. But he did use the word higher and used his arm into the air, so I
Oh.
was going to say that,
To show you how much
but
higher.
I didn't want to interrupt his profound
Wow.
moment, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys very much for coming in tonight. I appreciate you guys being here. This has been a lot of fun. I enjoy doing these so much. I'm so disappointed that we didn't get to do Celine's earlier today, but in a couple of weeks we're going to reschedule and get her on.
We'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen. And guys, thanks again. Logan, thanks for coming.
No, thank you.
Jason, as always.
I was just trying to elevate the experience.
Yeah.
That's all.
Oh, now his
There it
hands
is.
are out wide. He's
Yes.
We need
He's
to
a
get
master.
We need to get a camera on Chad over here. He speaks with his hands almost as much as I do.
A video podcast.
Chad, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Chad.
Thanks. Thanks. Thanks.